In this video, I'll show you how to build a simple but powerful system so that you can execute consistently, because motivation is unreliable, but systems are not. The key is simplicity, because simplicity leads to consistency. So you should be focusing on a few high leverage inputs each day instead of a 2-hour morning routine. By the way, this video is part of my series called How to Build an Online Business from Scratch. In the last video, we talked about the simple formulas that you need to scale. In this video, we're going to systemize the 20% of your inputs that are going to lead to the 80% of your outputs. And next, we'll stop you from burning out so that you can outlast the rest of your competition. If you want to check out any of the other videos in the series, there's a link to the playlist down below. But let's not waste any more time, so let's get right into it. So how do we build a simple but robust system? Well, it all starts with the Pareto principle, which is the 80-20 rule. You may have heard of this before, but it basically says that 80% of your results will come from 20% of your efforts. And this applies across almost anything, right? So you need to find your high leverage inputs, the things that directly drive visibility, sales, or product quality, and build your day around those inputs. Remove everything else, because everything else is a distraction or it's some form of procrastination, because this is what you need to be focusing on. But how do we make this robust? How do we make it so it's very unlikely to fail, right? Well, first, it needs to be simple, because the fewer moving parts you have in a system, the less there is to break and the less likely it will break. It also needs to be repeatable. So can you execute this daily without burning out? Can you do this over and over again with consistency so that you can continue driving the needle? Is it trackable? Can you measure if you even did it, right? This needs to be something that you can measure so that you know how well you're performing and where you need to make improvements. And then, is it flexible? So can you still do this on a bad day? Because you are going to have bad days and you need to be able to be consistent through these bad days. So how do we solve for this? Well, we have to design a simple routine. So it starts in the morning. You don't need 2 hours of journaling, meditation, cold plunges, or red light therapy, whatever you want to insert here. I'm not saying that stuff isn't beneficial. I'm not saying it won't help you. I am saying you don't need it. It's not necessary, because again, 80% of your outputs will come from 20% of your inputs. So just do a few high leverage habits for your morning routine. It doesn't have to be much. It can be very simple. So some examples. Something that's very high leverage is you could just take a 5 to 10 minute walk right after you wake up. This gets you sunlight. It's crucial for sleep and it helps you focus, and much, much more that is outside the scope of this video. But if you want to do some research on your own, look into the benefits of this. Also drink some water right when you wake up. You aren't thirsty. You don't feel thirsty, but you are dehydrated from sleeping, and your body has kind of turned off that thirst mechanism so that you can get better sleep. So get yourself hydrated. And then I find it really beneficial to avoid looking at your phone or any type of social media right when you wake up, especially before you start working, because this is just going to fill your mind with distractions. You'll see what's in the news and what people are posting on their page, and you just don't need any of that stuff right now, especially early in the day. So for the first half of my day, my phone isn't even really in sight. I just try to get straight to my desk. So if you actually did just these few things and, kept up with your personal hygiene, you're going to be at your desk in under 15 minutes. And that's what we want, right? You don't need a 2-hour routine. Just keep it short and keep it simple. A few high leverage habits and you're good to go. And then for your daily workflow, there are a few things I want you to optimize. I really want you to focus on optimizing your day around efficiency. So do the hardest things that you need to do in your day first, because, you've heard carpe diem, seize the day. It's a lot better to get your hardest stuff out of the way first and let your day get easier as it goes on. Also, it's going to be really beneficial for you to do the same things at the same times each day, because building a routine like this is going to help you stay consistent throughout those days where you're not really motivated and you don't really feel like showing up. And then definitely try to avoid context switching as much as possible. This is well studied. This is well documented. That's just the way our brains work, that whenever we have to switch between contexts, we lose a huge amount of efficiency and we lose a lot of focus. So use a default template for your day. An example of this could be doing your content or all of your marketing in the morning, and then scheduling most of your calls for the afternoon, and then doing your administrative work at night. So batch your task in a way that avoids switching your context, avoids switching focuses, and block your time based on difficulty. So whatever's hardest for you, try to get that done first. And then actually time block this stuff out. So mark it on your calendar or whatever tracking tool that you use, so that you know that at this time, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and you can hold yourself accountable to it. And then for your evening routine, look, you can only run on bad sleep for so long. Obviously, you'll have periods where you're going to have to sacrifice some sleep to get things done. I'm not saying that that's not something you should do, but you can only do it for so long. And sleep equals recovery, which equals performance. So you have to recover, because if you don't, your brain is not going to be fully there. You're not going to be fully focused. You're not going to have the cognition that you would have. You have to get good sleep. So, and again, a lot of this is outside the scope of this video, but you need to have some type of winding down routine an hour or so before you go to bed. And it's outside the scope of this video, but just a few tips here. You could read or plan the next day to kind of clear your mind. And then screens off, lights dimmed. If you absolutely have to look at a screen, then try to use the blue light filtering mode on whatever device you're using, or you could buy some blue light blocking glasses. That will help you a lot. And then try to go to bed at the same time every night. This is well studied. You should probably already know why. It just manages your circadian rhythm. And this is really important for a lot of the systems in your body, pretty much every system in your body. And then it also helps you to go to sleep and to maintain good, deep sleep if you sleep in a dark and cool room. These are just some quick tips. I mean, there's so much more we could go into this, and I really can't emphasize enough how important sleep is, especially if you're trying to build a business. And then that's a good segue into why health is so important and why it's a performance multiplier on you and your business. So you should consider yourself a sort of business athlete, right? You want to maintain your health so that you can perform at the highest level, because you are the driver. You can't run a business at full speed on a blown motor. You have to protect yourself. You have to protect your own health. So it's really beneficial for you to get some movement in daily. So 30 to 60 minutes a day of walking, running, or lifting definitely boosts focus, energy, and confidence. This is well studied. You don't have to do these things. Maybe you like to play some basketball with friends or pickleball or whatever it is. Just get some movement in daily. It will be really beneficial to you. And then, of course, nutrition. Don't eat garbage. You know what's healthy. Make it easy to eat what you're supposed to. It's kind of outside the scope of this video for me to get too deep into this, but just focus on eating enough protein, focus on whole foods, and drinking water. And you're going to have a whole lot more energy and a much clearer mind if you shift away from kind of the junk food that you might be eating right now to eating this stuff on a daily basis. I know it's hard, but it's just something you need to focus on and have some discipline to get done. And we just went over this, but just to re-emphasize how important it is, you have to optimize your day for your sleep. So drop the caffeine after midday. If you're drinking these 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock cups of coffee, just get rid of that because it is hurting your sleep. Try to get 7 to 9 hours at the same time every single night. You know the drill. Your physical state is a multiplier for every other system in your body. So your focus, your cognition, your performance is all going to be based off of what's going on under the hood. So you really want to make sure that this is operating at the highest level that you can. One of the highest leverage optimizations that you can make to your day is to minimize decisions as much as possible, because every decision drains energy and time. This goes back to the context switching thing where you have to change what you're thinking about. So like what to wear, what to eat, when to prepare your food, what to do next. This is death by 1,000 cuts. And you should be trying to simplify and automate as much of your day that doesn't pertain to your hard, complex work as much as possible. So these things might seem silly, but they definitely work. Like an example of this is wear the same clothes every day. I mean, you may have heard stories of like Mark Zuckerberg when he was building Facebook. He would just wear jeans and a gray shirt. His closet would just be full of a bunch of pairs of jeans and the same gray shirt over and over again every day. Because when he opens his closet in the morning, there's no decision to make. He just grabs what he's going to wear, which is the same thing every day. And it's that simple. A lot of entrepreneurs try to eat the same meals every day at the same time because it just works. It helps you to actually focus on the things that actually move the needle. When you get an idea, write it down. This is just to get it out of your head, because if not, you might be thinking and pondering on that idea for the rest of the day. You want to get it out of the way so that you can focus on it later whenever you have time to actually switch to that context. Again, I know it might seem silly, but this stuff just actually works. And I wouldn't be telling you this. I wouldn't take up your time in this video if this stuff didn't work. So try to find these things that you can use to remove decision making out of your day as much as possible. And then definitely gamify your inputs. You can train yourself to feel rewarded from work itself. And the way you do this is by tracking your inputs, because tracking is going to motivate you through micro rewards. It also provides accountability, because if you actually write down and list what you're supposed to be doing every day and you don't make it, like you don't get it done that day, then you failed, right? Now you're holding yourself accountable. So you can use Notion templates. Like I prefer Notion, but there's many other habit tracking apps. You can use scoreboards. Just use whatever's comfortable for you and track what you're supposed to be doing on a daily basis. Track your inputs. Reinforce what leads to the outcome, not the outcome, because the outcomes will lag behind the inputs and you can't directly control them yet, but you can directly control your inputs, which is what you need to be holding yourself accountable to. And they've done some goal tracking studies. And what they were doing was they were tracking whether their subjects visualize success, failure, or the effort to get to where they want to go, to what goal they were tracking. So what they found was that if their subjects visualized success, then they would get an initial motivation from that, but the effort would reduce over time. And the reason for that is the way the brain works is when they were visualizing their success, what kind of happened was they gave themselves the reward, they gave themselves the dopamine hit before they actually went through the effort to achieve that. And they concluded that this reduces your chances of actually accomplishing your goals long term. And then the ones that visualized failure, they nearly doubled their success probability, and it sustained their effort throughout the process because they were scared of failure. They were running away from something, and fear is very motivating. We know this from marketing and just human nature, right? But those who visualized effort, so going through the process of what would make them successful, increased their effort. It gave them better performance and reduced their perceived effort. This was by far the highest performing group because they visualized the actual process they had to go through to reach their goals. So I would say in actual practice, it's kind of a mixed bag here. A lot of people only visualize success. A lot of people only visualize failure, but I would say most people are not visualizing effort. And it seems like there's a lot of performance to be gained if that's your strategy with your mentality. So visualize the effort it takes to actually achieve what you're trying to achieve. And your routine will evolve. So don't think that you're locked into doing the same thing all the time. Review it monthly and ask what's been working, what feels hard, and what's driving progress, and where do I feel like I'm wasting time? And always tweak it, right? But don't tweak it too much. Don't overhaul it every time you miss a day, because that could just be your lack of discipline, your lack of consistency, and that's something that you need to work on, obviously. So really give this stuff a good test and only tweak it once you realize that something really isn't working for you long term. And just like with every video in the series, I like to leave you with a set of action steps. Your first one here is to list your top 2 or 3 daily high leverage inputs that you're going to be doing every single day. Then design a simple morning and evening routine that saves you time, not waste time. You don't need a 2-hour morning routine. You don't need the cold plunges and the 30 minutes of journaling, meditation, whatever. Just keep it simple. Then block time on your calendar around context and difficulty. So do your hardest stuff first and try to stay within the same context for as long as possible throughout the day to maintain your efficiency. Set up a tracking system. So you could use a simple habit tracking app or a Notion template, or if you want to design your own, that's great. And then commit to testing it for at least 2 to 3 weeks and then review what happened and refine to improve it, right? So don't just on day 2 try to change stuff, actually try to stick with it and see how far you get and see what's working and what's not. So you don't need to be perfect. You just need to show up and actually execute your few key actions every single day, and building the right routine and the right system can help make this automatic and very easy to sustain. And in the next phase, we're going to talk about how to outlast your competition. But if you need my personal help building your own system or building your own routine, I am taking free one-on-one calls right now. I also have my community available if you want to reach me there. So if you're interested in any of that, check out the links below. And if you got value out of this video, don't forget to subscribe. We've got the last phase in the series coming up next.